Come back. I mean, it's been a very long time since my last video after months and months of endless rain and a couple of storms over the winter that took my makeshift workshop you'll have seen in the last videos. I am now, well, now spring is starting to roll around. I'm back to it and hoping to get this project finished and get it out the door and move on to something else. So it has literally been a good few months now since I last even pretty much looked at the bike. You know, I was working in a bit of a gazebo so I could do some work over the winter, but a storm come, totally trashed the gazebo. So ever since then, the bike, which is behind me here, sort of still undercover, but yeah, we're pretty much back to square one. What little work I did on it is probably now undone. So let's see where we are at with this. My new gimbal and my new microphones that I've got, so hopefully hopes to improve the video and the sound quality that comes out of this. So I mean, got a bit of rust picking back up on the exhaust, but it still looks better than it did originally. Let's just get this cover off. Oh yeah, it's picked up a hell of a lot of dirt over the winter. I mean, we're still not in too bad of a shape, but let's see what we're working with. First, we're going to whip that battery cover off, which held in by a couple of rubber bungs. We're going to get the battery off, we're going to get that back on charge, and we're going to tackle a couple of other jobs. So with the battery now off the bike again, it's time to take a look at this cheapy, nasty speedo revometer, tachometer, whatever you want to call it, that came with the bike in spares when I bought it. So in the last video, you saw me actually fitting it and making the wire adapters and everything else to get it on the bike and get it powering on. However, since then, what I've realized is it actually uses a magnetic wheel speed sensor, which I would have to either drill through the brake or, you know, weld onto the frill. Like, I have absolutely no idea how to fit that thing. So, I mean, this bike uses uses a cable, a speedo cable. So I've actually got myself a speedo which will mount up there. So I just need to wire that in, plug it into the cable. Hopefully all that works as it should. Let's crack on with that. Yeah. Okay, so here's what we're working with. With this cheapy speedo off Amazon, I think it was about 16 quid. It'll take the speedo cable. It's got 6 wires coming at the end of it, and it comes with this plug. The instructions on Amazon are pretty vague. They don't really give you a lot of direction. They just tell you what each wire does. I mean, based on what I did, you know, that was the connector I made. That is basically just power. The issue we're going to have, the previous speedo that I've taken off had the, you know, it showed all the gearing on there and what gear you were in. This literally just shows if you're in neutral or not. So how much of the speedo will work, I don't actually know, but we're going to wire it up and hope for the best. So here we go. So the last time I made the power adapter, it went into a 9-pin block. So we're just going to go ahead and pull those out. My fantastic crimps. And we're going to redo those, and then they're going to go into this 6-pin block adapter so that it can match onto the new speedo. So I'm just going to make sure that I've re-stripped these wires. So they're nice and stripped, so I've got plenty to play with. We're going to crimp some adapters onto those now. Okay, so they're done. They're not pretty crimps, but I skipped the long boring process of me crimping them, which I'm pretty sure nobody wanted to see me doing that again. So they are done. We're going to take a look at the wiring diagrams now so I can put these in order, match them up with the corresponding ones on the speedo, and then we should have that up and running. Okay, so that is wired up and plugged into my adapter. Those two little wires there, the blue and the orange one, they are for the left and right turn signal, which doesn't need doing on this because there were no wires for it on the old one. So I'm going to leave those out. Whether or not those are wired up absolutely correctly is anyone's guess, because this does things that the old Speedo, which is here and totally disassembled, does not do. And obviously the gear indicators were on a totally separate stalk, so who knows. We're gonna plug it in. I'm gonna get the Speedo cable inserted in a second, and then we're gonna move on to something else because that battery's on charge. I can't find out anything until I get that battery off charge. So let's go. So a job that desperately needs doing is all of this rust on the forks. Can I get that to focus out a bit? It's not showing that very well, but there's some paint or something in that rust as well. Not really getting a good focus on that, but anyway, we got it all down both sides. So we're going to go ahead and tackle that rust with a trick that I saw online. I have no idea how well it's going to work, as per usual. So let's give it a go. So the way I'm going to tackle the rust, I got some 1500 grit wet and dry sandpaper and some WD-40. Saw somebody else tackle this online and it turned out really well for them. So, I mean, when I thought about it, I thought, sandpaper, really? Surely that's going to ruin it, but I don't know. It worked out really well for them. So we're going to give it a go. We're going to really, really, really put the WD-40 on thick. Get it absolutely covered. And then the trick is to just keep even pressure and just come around the frame like this. So after giving all four parts of the forks a good rub down with the WD-40 and the wet and dry sandpaper, you can see most of the actual, like, the rusting, the orangeness has come off. You know, it's looking a lot cleaner, a lot tidier. I mean, obviously there's still some heavy pitting on there, which, you know, is not really going to go away. But, you know, it is looking a lot tidier there. So the forks cleaned up, we can take a look at the indicator mounts that I got on Amazon. So they come in two pieces, they slot together like this. You can fit them then around the fork and secure them using these bolts. So I've actually already got one on the bike. So let me just move you on over here and we'll take a look at that. So it just sits on the frame just like that. Like I said, you screw it together to tighten it up. And obviously the indicators then will just slot through the hole in the end, and then you tighten the nut on that up and it should hold the indicator in place, you know, nice on the front of the bike then. So we're just going to undo the nut on the indicator like so, slide that nut off, get the end of the indicator, pop it in through the hole in the mount bracket, pop the nut back on to secure the indicator. So I'm just going to slide that back on down there. Like so. There we are. Excuse me, cameraing. Once I've screwed that back on, we're just going to plug the indicator back in to where it came from. Okay, so the indicators are mounted. The brackets are tightened up. They're not quite straight, not quite level. but they are fitted, you know, at least they're on the bike and not just hanging down in the way anymore. We'll adjust them and tweak them slightly later on, you know, get them lined up nice once we start getting all the front end, you know, buttoned up and put together. But for now, we're going to get that battery back on and see if things work. Okay, so a bit more disappointment, as always with this bike. There's always something else. I put the battery back on. Not sure if it wasn't fully charged or not, but I got nothing on the electrics. So, battery's back off, back on charge. Try that again, but the bike is going off to the welders. So, as we know, when I first bought this bike, we realised somebody had chopped the arse off it to try and turn it into a bobber, which meant the original rear bracketing that they'd mangled does not fit. So it's gone off to the welders so that the welder can do something along the lines of attach this here so that the seat can then go over the top of it. Also put in a bracket so this mudguard or a different mudguard can go in, and the rear license plate holder, which I don't have to hand, which should sit there somewhere, and I can put a license plate on it before it goes for an MOT at some point, and the brake light will then attach to it as well. So we're going to get this loaded up in my van, and it's going to go off to the welders, and I will deal with it when it comes back. Till then, peace out, thanks for watching, stay tuned for updates.